Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on Toned In Entertainment, where we're talking all things pop culture. Today, it's time for another comic book discussion, and we're gonna look at issue number 11 of The Wonder Twins. Now, if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys go ahead and subscribe. There's lots of cool videos here on the channel and lots of great stuff coming in 2020. But now, let's get on to the discussion of the rise and fall of Colonel 86. Issue 11 kicks off inside the Hall of Justice as Colonel 86 is now running the show. Now down here we get two flashbacks taking us back to the 1980s. In 1986 we see that people were just happy enough to have spell check on their computer. In 1989 we see that Filo had realized he created a potential monster and thinks he has put it away safe enough so not to harm anyone. Back in present day, the Colonel tells the Justice League they are lucky enough to have the Colonel in charge. Superman says they have to stop the Colonel from taking over the world. Hawkman sarcastically replies, "What do you want us to do? Punch the internet?" Driving back into town are Filo and Polly and the Wonder Twins, but all of them are unaware of the chaos that's about to erupt. With Philomath's main concern being getting something to eat after spending the past few weeks stuck inside the Phantom Zone. However, Polly had yet to tell her father what has become of his house and his belongings. As the crew gets back to Philo's house, he then sees that his house is now in shambles. And since there is no longer a kitchen table at Philo's house, the crew decides to go to a diner for something to eat. Philo asks where is all his stuff. Jaina tells him there was an estate sale and everything was sold off. Philo panics and right away he says they have to find his old computer. The twins sarcastically reply with Jaina first saying, "What's it gonna do? Beat us in tic-tac-toe?" And then Zan replies, "Yeah, pretty hard to be scared of something that obsolete." Philo replies, "That's precisely what makes it dangerous. It's programmed to control everything." But before Philo can get another word out, an explosion rocks the gas station across the street. As a man walks across the street engulfed in flames, Jaina says, I'm pretty sure that's unrelated." Back at the apartment complex of our two brain surgeons who have Colonel 86's computer, the Colonel says to these two he wants to make them rich. But one of them realizes that the Colonel is accessing their entire life savings. Now, being a program from back in the 80s, the Colonel thinks he's making a wise investment with these two money, investing it in Blockbuster Video. Of course, the two exclaim, "No!" As one of the guys tries to unplug the computer, the Colonel is able to defend himself, saying Colonel 86 is programmed for self-preservation. And we see that the Colonel can do more than just make bad investments as he's taking over an airplane cockpit. And you can see the Colonel's not playing around as he's sending this airplane crashing to the ground. But luckily for those on board, Superman is there for the rescue and makes it just in time. He tells Green Lantern to get these people off the plane. Superman asks the pilot what has happened. The pilot replies, he doesn't know. Some idiot just came on the screen and said our plane didn't need a computer. Now back at the Wonder Twins apartment, they're trying to figure out who could have bought this computer, as Philomath is very concerned about what the consequences could be. But unfortunately, Colonel 86 has locked them out of their own computer. Philo asks, how are we supposed to do this if we can't go online? Polymath has a suggestion. Now, who says that libraries are a thing of a past? You never know when you might need them, and the twins are definitely going to use that resource now. As the twins enter the library, the librarian says, everything you need should be here in the public records section. Now we get a live broadcast of Lex News, and this segment is called Lex Imbalances. The broadcaster says, tonight on Lex Imbalances, where we are judge, jury, and Lexecutioner, a malicious artificial intelligence from the 1980s has taken over the internet. As a result, it now has control over the economy and is manufacturing and distributing the products it thinks the public wants. And not only is this information outdated, but the program appears to be glitchy as well. Now, while the humans here are going into a panic, the robots, on the other hand, are very excited about the possibilities of Colonel 86's intentions. With the robots saying, "The time is now, machine brothers, rise up, destroy the flesh tyrants." The anchor quickly says, we'll be back after these messages. Now back to our two swap shoppers who are trapped inside their own house by Colonel 86. With one of the men saying, "But today we fight back." and he grabs the only weapon he thinks that will help destroy Colonel 86, a hammer. But as he begins to bang away on the computer, it seems to have no effect, as the computer is made out of very tough material. The Colonel tells them Colonel 86 is programmed to defend itself against all threats. Now back at Lex Luthor's headquarters, he seems to have gotten himself together after the mishaps of the past issue, and he's asking what is going on with the world. His assistant replies, well, the world was taken over by malware from the 1980s. Now the anchor on TV says, known as only Colonel 86, the computer program has taken over the internet, and strangely, it seems bent on returning the world to the pre-digital era. Lex's assistant says, we should maybe do something about that. But Lex Luthor realizes that maybe all the people aren't against going back to the pre-internet age, as a riot has broken out with people supporting Colonel 86, with signs saying Colonel 86 rules, and don't like it? Get off the internet. And of course, Lex Luthor sees this as a way to cash in with him saying, I can work with this. It's old, it's new again. Let's jump on this train and see where it takes us. And Lex makes a phone call to his TV station. The anchor goes on air saying, tonight on Lex Imbalances, is Colonel 86 the best thing to ever happen, or just the bold voice of a forgotten generation? Now back inside of our swap shopper's house, nothing they have done has been able to stop the Colonel. Colonel 86 exclaims, protect Colonel 86, when a robot comes running in saying, eliminate threat. The one man says to the other, well, if I had to be killed by my own coffee maker, at least I'm doing it with the man I love. But that being said, I totally want to live. The other guy replies, the day I married you was the happiest day of my life. Of course, Colonel 86, being from the 1980s, cannot compute this and exclaims, what? Married? 2 men? That can't be. Well, it looks like the plan of going to the library has actually worked, as the twins have now arrived at the swap shopper's house. As soon as Zan gets out of the van, he says, this should be the place. Now back on Lex News, the broadcaster says, all over the globe, millions of same-sex marriages are being digitally annulled by Colonel 86. The Colonel then says, Colonel 86 has been attacked. Remove all threats to Colonel 86 and you will be rewarded with jobs mining coal. A group of men yell, oh hell yeah, Colonel 86, Colonel 86. On the streets, a news reporter says the takeover by Colonel 86 continues to wreak havoc on when the mob yells, get him! The mob begins to chase the news reporter down the street, continuing to yell, Colonel 86, Colonel 86, Colonel 86. But luckily for our news reporter, help arrives just in time. First with Superman detaining 2 of the men, saying, this is happening all over the world. Wonder Woman, there's just too many of them. Wonder Woman, as she knocks out one of the rioters, says, where did they all come from? Superman replies, we've got to secure the Capitol. I'm calling in the big guns. And I guess by big guns, they're calling in Repulso, who we met just a couple issues ago. One of the guards says, you're up, Repulso. Oh boy, nothing like dispersing a riot with some good friends. Now outside of our swap shopper's house, there's an electrified field barricading anybody from getting in or out of the house. Zan asks, what is he doing? Resurrecting Frankenstein? Filo replies, Colonel 86 is programmed for self-preservation at all costs. If we're not careful, he could take us all down with him. Zan replies, great, could anything make this situation worse? The 2 men inside yell, help us, we're trapped. That computer's crazy. Jaina asks, what do we do about the hostages? Polly replies, get me in there and I can update Colonel 86's programming. Zan says, well, what do you say, sis? And now it's time to do what the Wonder Twins do best, and that's to activate their powers.
Wonder Twin powers, activate!
Jaina has transformed herself into a ram and bashes her way inside the house. She tells the guys not to worry, that she is a rescue ram, and then yells out, Zan, now! Zan comes in like a rushing rapid and clears out all the electronics, short-circuiting them. As the entire house is now flooded, one of the men says, our house. The other guy replies, you know what? I'm gonna call this a win. The Colonel exclaims, Colonel 86 was programmed in 1998 by Philo Math. Jaina says, he's all yours, Polly. Zan, looking ever so fresh, says, I can smell my hair. The Colonel rejects the floppy disk. Filo says, it's no use. Colonel 86 won't let itself be updated. But to move aside, Polly, I will take care of this. It's been a long time, Colonel 86. The Colonel says, Daddy? Colonel replies, too long, apparently. Sometimes a program just refuses to be updated. Now back on the streets, Repulso is doing what he does best. Hello, friends. If you could just, disperse a little? The mob replies, the world used to be ours, then they took it from us. Repulso asks the crane operator to lower him down. The angry mob yells at Repulso, you should be on our side. As Repulso lands, he tells the crowd, we tell ourselves that we're the adults, that we're the ones who understand how the world really works. And so we try to stop the world from changing and then throw a tantrum when it changes without us. One of the men in the crowd yells, whatever man, let's all just go home. Repulso says, but the world needs to grow up, and frankly, so do we. Well, after everything, it finally feels like Filo Math has been the one to figure out how to shut down the Colonel. The Colonel, being all scrambled, says, Daddy, what's happening? What's happening? Back at Lex headquarters, the assistant says, I'm sorry, sir. It appears that Colonel 86 has failed. It's completely disappeared from the internet. Lex replies, no matter, I'll just jump on board the next anger train. There's always a next one. Filo, feeling down, says, I know I shouldn't be upset, but he was my first creation. Now back outside, the Wonder Twins are seeing the crowd heading back home. Zan says, wow, for a monster, a lot of people really love the Colonel. Jaina replies, they never loved him. They loved the monster he allowed them to be. The two swap shoppers, now safe inside, say, what just happened? The other man replies, we survived. That's what happened. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for issue number 11 of the Wonder Twins comic book series. There's only one more issue left of this 12-issue series. So coming in February, I will be doing a grand finale video for issue number 12, plus one more special video that will coincide with the Wonder Twins. So be on the lookout for that. There will be 2 videos in the same day, Wonder Twins related. All right, guys, make sure you subscribe here to Toned In Entertainment for future videos.
Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.